I learned an important life lesson from Star Trek. Of all places, right? Star Trek. So bear with me here. It was The Next Generation, and I think it was season 5. There was an episode in it called The Game. And basically what happened was these crew members started playing this thing. It was a game. And the game was a headband that then gives you an AR projection. And every time, so basically the idea is you get a ball into a hoop. Every time you get the ball into the hoop, which is sort of like a funnel, you get this hit of dopamine through the headband into your brain. And so every time you get the ball in, it's like, you get a dopamine hit. And it quickly became addictive. It became so addictive that all of the crew members neglected all of their duties because they were just addicted to playing this game. And it turns out that these bad guys had sent in the game to infiltrate the crew and take over the Enterprise starship. And as you see through the episode, all the crew members are just playing this game, like, getting these dopamine hits. It also shuts down, after you become addicted enough to the game, it shuts down your prefrontal cortex rational functioning. So you're just putting all of your brain's capacities and energy onto getting more dopamine hits. You're addicted to this game. And the episode at the end, Commander Data, the android, saves the day, but that's not the point. So this is a very bad summary of the episode, but the point is that this game was about getting dopamine hits. And in the meantime, while they were pursuing the dopamine hits, the pleasure from playing the game, the bad guys were coming into the ship and were gonna take over the ship. And everything was going to shit because they were focused on pursuing the pleasure. And it's a lot like laboratory rats, right? So like laboratory rats, you give them pellets and they'll do stuff. And the reason why it was relevant to me, this episode came out in 1991, I looked it up, was because at that time I was watching it, I didn't have much freedom, I was in high school. And it was in my unconscious, and I didn't learn the lesson until many years later. And many years of my life, I devoted to the pursuit of pleasure. I was a pickup artist for many years. I was teaching pickup arts. I was clubbing a lot. I was obsessed about status and attractiveness and being attractive and attracting attractive people and high quality, high status people. And a lot of the other people in my life were like me. We were also pursuing pleasure. And everything, the end of all of our games, so to speak, our pursuits, was pleasure, getting more and more pleasure. And in a way, we were like these laboratory rats, but it was, I guess, on a higher level, but it was still like laboratory rats. And after all of those years of pursuing pleasure for the sake of itself, for pleasure for the sake of pleasure, I found my life very empty. And I thought back to that episode, that it was a lot like that. A lot like getting really good at this AR game of getting dopamine hits into your brain through a headband, while the world around you was going to crap. Like your life was basically meaningless and empty because there was nothing more to it than the self-serving, self-centered pursuit of pleasure. And the way out of that, for me, after many years of soul searching and self-awareness and therapy and working on myself in many other ways and just understanding myself and others psychologically and so on, I discovered that when you pursue pleasure for its own sake, like most of the world, and like most people, we're nothing better than laboratory rats. And if you want to find more meaning in your life and you want to have lasting fulfillment in life, then you should seek out the truth, what is actually there, and to prioritize the good, goodness. What is good versus what gives you pleasure? So if you want lasting fulfillment and happiness in life, prioritize the good, goodness over pleasure. Goodness over pleasure.